And we're back, and this time our computer won't go to sleep on us, and we don't try our password like 15 times. Yeah, woo!
I have the worst luck with technical stuff and computer stuff. It just doesn't work.
We're just having the worst luck with our computers when it comes to like doing recording. I'm like, my computer never has issues except when we're recording.
Yeah.
And your computer never has issues except for when we're recording.
But it records.
Yeah, mine doesn't actually record. Mine goes like 10 minutes and then it freezes and there's literally nothing it can do about it. I looked it up and it was like, yeah, apparently my, like that kind of knock, it's like one of the newer ones. Apparently it's an issue with some of them and they haven't quite figured out how to fix the bug yet. So I'm just like, okay, well, guess can't record on my computer. Doesn't work that way. iMovie just freezes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Right. Cool.
So, yeah, and then when my laptop doesn't work, we switch to my tablet.
So we got backups for our backups for our backups.
Yeah, we do. Anyways, back to the recap. Elena woke up from her attack of the crow, whatever you want to call it. Bonnie came in, her dad came in, the window was open. That could only be open from the inside, so Elena must open it while she was asleep. Everyone calms down when they close the window again, and
Elena realized that she had invited Damon into the house.
Previously, too.
Yeah, like when they were sitting at dinner and they were doing the little, like, invite your future husband. He kind of took that as a, hi,
opportunity.
I'm Damon. I'm your future husband. I'm going to just come into this house now. Yeah. Woo!
Yeah, I think that's what happened.
I think that was...
And we didn't put on a theory board, but we need to. Nothing has changed.
We're so bad at that. We're so bad at this theory board.
Nothing has changed. Catherine's alive. Meredith's powers are going to develop more. Robert's going to be killed off for Alaric. But we also want to add that we think Catherine's animal is a cat.
Wow.
But she could turn into a cat, like how Damon could turn into a crow.
Because of the fact that, like, the guy under the bridge, like, got, like, scratched up.
Yep.
And, like, Vicky was, like...
She had some claw marks on her.
She had some claw marks, but she also was like, you're one of them. Ah! And Elena looks like Catherine.
Point. Sorry, clicking light bulb moment. So I think Catherine is one attacking everybody. Especially if Vicky's like, no, you're one of them, you're one of them.
Yeah.
Like,
I thought that's what we were saying.
No, I was totally not on that train with you.
I thought you were on the train, but apparently I left you back at the station.
Yes. I was left at the gift shop. Admiring all the other nice things and not thinking about that. I just made that connection.
Yeah.
Way to go, Sabrina.
Kiss your brain, you're so smart. That's what I tell my kids. Anyways.
Okay. Moving on.
We're doing chapter 9 now.
And yes, I did get a haircut, if anybody noticed. It was like
she looks so fly.
I did not darken it. I just had light ends, so made my hair look like it was light, but I didn't darken it at all.
It does look really dark. I was like, man, you look like you have black hair. It's been a long time.
No, it's just all the ends were cut off that were really, really light that made the contrast.
Yeah, because you had highlights for a little bit, like a while ago, like years ago. So it just kind of like grew out to the end.
Yeah, and those were like almost 2 years old, and I don't have.
Are you all natural again?
Yeah, this is my natural stuff. Yeah. I think I cut my bangs too short, though. I wish they were a little bit longer.
I think your hair got darker with age. Just saying.
And I'm not in the sun as much.
I've known this chick since kindergarten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always had light brown hair.
Yeah, so I feel like it got, like, darker with age, because it almost looks black now.
In the shade, it looks black. But in the sun, it'll look light brown again.
Okay. It's too much of a distraction. Back to chapter 9.
Anyway.
We haven't seen each other in a while, so it's like, okay, we gotta chit chat.
Yeah.
After that.
Chapter 9.
Chapter 9.
Wait, is this for Monday and then Thursday next week?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
I took School of Good and Evil and put it on Thursday, so that we had a episode on Monday and Thursday, like we're supposed to be doing.
I added it for Friday because I didn't know if you wanted to separate it or not.
I'll change it.
Okay, good. So I uploaded the other one on Thursday too.
Did you?
Yeah, that's why I put it on Friday.
I didn't see it on there.
That's why I put Good and Evil for Friday. It's there.
I think we only did one last week. We
did
do this
two.
later. Do this later. We talk about this later. Stop distracting me. This stuff is important. This is more important than that.
The brain.
It will be there when we are done.
That is true.
I don't think everyone wants to wait for you to go through your phone, wait for everything to load, doing some scrolling. No.
No.
Chapter 9. I know I'm going to be sorry I asked this, Matt said, turning red-rimmed eyes from their contemplation of I-95 to Stefan in the passenger seat.
Are we sure we're ready?
Sally sold seashells by the seashore. Stefan in the passenger seat beside him. But can you tell me why we have these extra special, not available locally, semi-tropical weeds for Elena? Stefan looked at the back seat at the results of their search through the hedgerows and rough grass. The plants, with their branching green stems and their small-toothed leaves, did look more like weeds than anything else. The dried remains of blossoms at the ends of the shoots were almost invisible, and no one could pretend the shoots themselves were decorative. What if I said they were used to make an all-natural eye wash? He offered at a moment's thought. Or an herbal tea. Why were you thinking of saying something like that? Or were you thinking of saying something like that? Not really. Good, because if you did, I'd probably deck you.
Cool.
Without actually looking at Matt, Stefan smiled. There was something new stirring inside of him, something he hadn't felt for nearly 5 centuries except with Elena. Acceptance. Oh my God. Tongue, work for me, please. Acceptance, warmth, and friendship shared with a fellow being who did not know the truth about him, but who trusted him anyway. Who was willing to take him on faith. He wasn't sure he deserved it, but he couldn't deny what it meant to him. It almost made him feel human again. Oh, to be human again, to be human again. Elena stared.
Guess that Disney reference in the comments.
Guess. Elena stared at her image in the mirror. It hadn't been a dream, not entirely. The wounds on her neck proved that, and now she'd seen them. She noticed the feeling of lightheadedness, of lethargy. Something in my eye. It was her own fault. She had taken so much trouble to warn Bonnie and Meredith not to invite strangers into their houses, and all this time she'd forgotten that she herself had invited Damon into Bonnie's house. She'd done it the night that they set up a dumb supper in Elena's dinner room and called out into the darkness, "Come in!" The invitation was good for forever. He could return at any time he liked, even now, especially now, while she was weak and might be easily hypnotized into unlocking a window again. Elena stumbled out of the bathroom, past Bonnie, and into the guest room. She grabbed her tote bag and began stuffing things into it. "Elena, you can't go home." "I can't stay here," Elena said. She looked around for her shoes, spotted them by the bed, and started forward. Then she stopped with a strangled sound, lying on the dainty, crumpled linen of the bed were a single black feather. It was huge, horribly huge, and real and solid, with a thick, waxy shaft. Shaft. It looked
waxy.
A shaft. It looked almost obscene, resting there in the white pearl-caged sheets. Nausea slipped over Elena, and she turned away. She couldn't breathe. Okay, Bonnie said. "If you feel that way about it, I'll get Dad to take you home. You have to come too." It had just dawned on Elena that Bonnie was no safer in this house than she was. You and your loved ones. She turned to grasp Bonnie's arm. "You have to, Bonnie. You have to, Bonnie. I need you with me." You coming?
I'm coming.
Okay. And at last she got her way. The Connellys thought she was hysterical and she was overreacting, possibly that she was having a nervous breakdown. But finally they gave in, and Mr. Connelly drove her and Bonnie to the Gilbert house, where, feeling like burglars, they unlocked the door and crept inside without waking anybody up. Even here, Elena couldn't sleep. She lay beside Bonnie's softly breathing form, staring out towards her bedroom window, watching. Outside in the quince trees, squeaked up against the glass, but nothing else moved until dawn. That was when she heard a car. She'd know the wheezing sound of Matt's engine anywhere. Alarmed, she tiptoed to the window and looked out into the early morning stillness of another gray dawn. Another gray day. Then she hurried downstairs and opened the front door. "Stefan!" She had never been so glad to see anyone in her life. She flung herself upon him before he could even shut the car door. I'm imagining, like, you know, like a Notebook slow motion run. Stefan! She swayed backwards at the force of her impact, and she could feel his surprise. She wasn't usually so demonstrative in public. Hey, he said, returning the hug gently. Me too, but don't crush the flowers. Flowers? She pulled back to look at what he was carrying. She looked at his face, then at Matt, who was emerging from the other side of the door. Stefan's face was pale and drawn. Matt was puffy with tiredness and had bloodshot eyes. You better come inside, she said, at last bewildered. You both look awful. It's Vervain, said Stefan sometime later. He and Elena were sitting at the kitchen table. Through the open doorway, Matt could be seen stretched out on the family room sofa, snoring gently. He'd flopped there after eating 3 bowls of cereal. That is a lot of cereal.
That's like a box of cereal.
Like, why don't you just pour some milk into, like, the bag and just eat it out of there? Like, that's a lot.
That is.
Aunt Judith, Bonnie, and Margaret were still upstairs asleep, but Stefan kept his voice low just the same. You remember what I told you about it? He said. You said it helps keep your mind clear, even when someone was using power to influence it? Elena was proud at how steady her voice was. Right, that's one of the things Damon might try. He might use the power of his mind, even from a distance. And he can do it whether you're awake or asleep. Tears filled Elena's eyes. She looked down to hide them, gazing at the long, slender stems that... Hi, honey.
Hi, Bubby.
Gazing at the long, slender stems with the dried remains of tiny lilac flowers at the very tips. Asleep? She said, afraid that this time her voice was not as steady. Yes, he can influence you to come out of the house, stay, or let him in, but the Vervain should prevent that. Stefan sounded tired but satisfied with himself. Oh, Stefan, if only you knew, Elena thought. The gift had come one night too late. In spite of all of her efforts, a tear fell, dripping into the long green stems. Elena, he sounded startled. What is it? Tell me. He was trying to look into her face, but she bowed her head, pressing it into his shoulder. He put his arms around her, not trying to force her up again. Tell me, he said softly. This was the moment. If she was ever going to tell him, it should be now. Her throat felt burned and swollen, and she wanted to let the words inside pour out, but she couldn't. No matter what, I won't let him fight over me, she thought. It's just that I was just so worried about you, she managed. I'm okay. I don't know where you've gone or if you're coming back. I should have told you, but is that all? There's nothing else upsetting you? That's all. Now she would have to swear Bonnie to secrecy about the crow. Why is she lying so much?
Stefan.
To Stefan, but also to Bonnie and Meredith, where this directly affects them. Like that's stupid. Buddy, you're gonna pull the computer off. Thank you.
Sit down. Good boy.
Thank you.
Good boy. That's kind of annoying to have your best friend feeling like she has to lie to everyone around her and to you. And you don't know it, but when you find out, you're gonna feel really deceived.
Yeah, but and all of this stuff directly affects
their lives.
I mean, not so much the fact that the crow attacked him, but it's also even though you're swearing them to secrecy, you're forcing them to lie too. It's not
It's not fair.
It's not fair.
I think everybody should just know what's going on.
I feel like she's very conceited.
Yeah.
Why did one lie always lead to another?
Because you're lying.
Because you're lying. What should we do with the vervain? She asked, sitting back. I'll show you tonight. Once I've extracted the oil from the seeds, you can rub it onto your skin and add it to a bath. You will need to make...
Hey, Bubby.
I know, baby.
Hey,
you will need to make dried leaves into a sachet and carry it with you or put it under your pillow at night. I'd better give them to Bonnie and Meredith, too. They'll need protection. He added, for now. He broke off a sprig and placed it in her hand. Just take this to school with you. I'm going back to the boarding house to extract the oil. He paused a moment and spoke. Elena? Yes? If I thought that it would do you any good, I'd leave. It won't expose you to Damon, but I don't think that he'd follow me if I went. Not anymore. I think he might stay because of you. Don't even think about leaving, she said fiercely, looking up at him. Stefan, that's the one thing I couldn't stand. Promise me you won't. Promise me. I won't leave you alone with him, Stefan said, which was not quite the same thing, but there was no point in pressing it farther. Instead, she helped him wake up Matt and saw them both off. Then, with a stem of dried vervain in her hand, she went upstairs to get ready for school. Bonnie yawned all the way through breakfast. She didn't really wake up until they were outside, walking to school with the brisk breeze on their faces. It was going to be a cold day. I had a very weird dream last night, Bonnie said. Elena's heart jumped. She'd already tucked a sprig of vervain into Bonnie's backpack, down into the bottom, where Bonnie wouldn't see it. But if Damon had gotten to Bonnie last night... What about? She said, bracing herself. About you. I saw you standing in a tree and the wind was blowing. For some reason, I was afraid of you. Oh, are we having another Catherine moment?
I think so.
And I didn't want to go any closer. You looked different. Very pale, but almost glowing. And then a crow flew down from the tree and you reached out and grabbed it from midair. You were so fast, it was unbelievable. And then you looked over at me with this expression. You were smiling, but it made me want to run. And then you twisted the crow's neck and it was dead. Elena had listened to this with growing horror. Now she said, that's a disgusting dream. It is, isn't it? Said Bonnie composedly. I wonder what it means. Crows are birds of ill omen in legends. Oh, is there? Ha! There's a crow watching us.
There's a big crow watching us.
Oh, he got even closer. Damon, you listening?
Just a coincidence.
Just a coincidence. Crows are birds of ill omens and legends. They can foretell death. It possibly meant that you knew how upset I was finding the crow in my room. Yes, Bonnie said, except for one thing. I've had this dream before you woke us all up screaming. That day at lunchtime, there was another piece of violet paper in the office bulletin board. This one, though, read simply, look impersonals. What personals? Said Bonnie. Meredith walked up at the moment with a copy of the Wildcat Weekly. The school newspaper provided the answer. Have you seen this? She said. It was all in the personal section, completely anonymous, with neither a salutation nor signature. I can't bear the thought of losing him, but he's very unhappy about something, and if he won't tell me what it is, if he won't trust me that much, I don't see any hope for us. Reading it, Elena felt a burst of new energy through her tiredness. Oh, God. She hated whoever was doing this. She imagined shooting them, stabbing them, watching them fall. Jeez, Elena, you're violent. And then vividly she imagined something else, yanking back a fistful of the thief's hair, sinking her teeth into an unprotected throat. It was a strange, upsetting vision, but for a moment it almost seemed real. She was aware of Bonnie and Meredith looking at her. Well, she said, feeling slightly uncomfortable. I could tell you weren't listening, sighed Bonnie. I just said it doesn't look like the killer's work to me. It doesn't seem like a murderer who would be so petty. Much as I hate to agree with her, she's right, Meredith said. It smells like someone sneaky, someone who has a grudge against you personally and wants to make you suffer. Saliva collected in Elena's mouth, and she swallowed. Also, somebody who's familiar with the school. They had to fill out a form for personals message in one of the journalism classes, she said. And somebody who knew you kept a diary, assuming they stole it on purpose. Maybe they were in one of your classes the day you took it to school. Remember when Mr. Tanner almost caught you, Bonnie said. Miss Haplin did catch me. Drop it. Don't be eating stuff off the ground.
You move your head.
Lay down. You know better. Lay down. You had so many cookies this morning. All right. Miss Haplin did catch me. She even read some of it aloud, a bit about Stefan. That was right after Stefan and I got together. Wait a minute, Bonnie. That night at your house when the diary was stolen, how long were you two out in the living room? Just a few minutes. Yang Z had stopped barking and I went to the door to let him in, and Bonnie pressed her lips together and shrugged. So the thief had to be familiar with her house, said Meredith swiftly, or he or she wouldn't have been able to get in, get the diary, and get out before we saw them.
Caroline, she was there too.
Mm-hmm.
Little biatch.
That little word that rhymes with stitch.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then. We're looking for someone sneaky and cruel, probably in one of your classes. Oh my gosh, I have a story about that. Sorry.
About what?
So we were in class the other day, and just so you know, I teach like 5-year-olds. They're like little kids. Anyway, I was on my prep, so I was working on getting stuff ready for like the next day. And I'm standing in the back of the classroom, like hot gluing stuff. And I'm listening into one of my fellow teachers' circles, and they're talking about blends and digraphs, which are like THs, SHs, that kind of thing. And she's talking about SH. And she's like, can you guys give me some words that have SH in the front? And literally without hesitation, one of them screams out, shh. And the teacher looks up at me in horror, like, oh my God. And I like mouth to her, ship. And she's like, oh, yes, ship, honey. Yes, really good. Ship. And then literally 2 seconds later, a kid right next door turns to her and says, I know a bad word with SH in it. And we're like, and he goes, shut up. And I'm like, you had me worried there for a minute, kid.
Had me worried. Oh, I know a little kid who had kind of a potty mouth at the age of 5.
Oh.
Yeah, his favorite word was MF.
Ah.
So he called everyone, you MFer, all the time when he had a tantrum.
So the kid who said, I know a bad word, he's Russian and just came to America, but like he knows a bunch of like Russian swear words, and he's 5. But like
it's Russian. What do you expect?
He thought I wouldn't know what kakashka meant, and I was like,
little does he know.
And I'm like, you can't say that at school. And he's like, you know Russian? I'm like, yes, yes, I totally do. And no, I'm just kidding. But I was like, I know what that word is. And then he started saying he knows a bunch of swear words in English, and he kept like trying to say them. I'm like, that's not school appropriate. If I hear it again, I'm gonna have to tell your mama. Anyway, we're having some issues with that right now.
I believe it.
Any hoots? Oh, and of course, Mom is like, oh, my little angel, he would never say anything like that.
Never.
I don't know where he got that from.
Don't know.
Goodness.
Any hooter tutors.
We'll
continue.
On to this. Gobble. Okay. All right, then. We're looking for somebody sneaky and cruel, probably in one of your classes, Elena, and most likely familiar with Bonnie's house. Someone who has a personal grudge and will stop at nothing to get to you. Oh my God. The 3 of them stared at each other. It has to be, whispered Bonnie. It has to. We're so stupid. We should have seen it right away, said Meredith. For Elena, it meant a sudden realization that all the anger she'd felt about this before had nothing to the anger she was capable of feeling. A candle flame to the sun. Caroline, she said, and clenched her teeth so hard her jaw hurt.
I kind of just had this moment in my head that popped up, a movie scene from Poltergeist. It's at the end, where like, Caroline, trying to pull her back from the other side. Anyways, that just popped up in my head when you said Caroline. Or is it Marianne? I forget. I think it's Caroline.
I think it's Marianne. But I don't know. Elena actually felt she could kill the green-eyed girl right now, and she might have rushed out to try if Bonnie and Meredith hadn't stopped her. After school, said Meredith firmly, when we can take her somewhere private. Just wait that long, Elena. But as they headed for the cafeteria, Elena noticed an auburn-haired head disappearing down the art and music corridor. And then she remembered something Stefan had said earlier this year about Caroline taking him to the photography room at lunchtime for privacy. Caroline had told him. You two go on. I forgot something, she said as soon as Bonnie and Meredith found their food in their cafeteria trays. Then she pretended to be deaf as she walked rapidly out and backtracked to the art wing. All the rooms were dark, but the photography room's door was unlocked. Something made Elena turn the knob cautiously and move quietly once she was inside, rather than marching in to start a confrontation as planned. Was Caroline in here? If so, what was she doing alone in the dark? The room appeared to be deserted. Then Elena heard the murmur of voices in a small alcove at the back. She saw the darkened door was ajar. Silently, stealthily, she made her way until she stood just outside the doorway, and the murmur of sound resolved itself into words. But how can we be sure that she'll be the one they pick? That was Caroline. My father's on the school board. They'll pick her all right. And that was Tyler Smallwood.
Tyler!
His father was a lawyer and on every board there was. Besides, who else would it be? He continued, the spirit of Fells Church is supposed to be as brainy as well as built. And I don't have brains, I suppose. Did I say that? Look, if you want to be the one to parade in a white dress on Founders Day, fine. But if you want to see Stefan Salvatore run out of town on evidence of his own girlfriend's diary, but why wait so long? Tyler sounded impatient. Because this way it'll ruin the celebration too, the Fells celebration. Why would they get credit for founding this town? The Smallwoods were here first. Oh, who cares about who founded the town? All I want is to see Elena humiliated in front of the entire school. And Salvatore. The pure hatred and malice in Tyler's voice made Elena's fresh call. I guess it'd be more like, and Salvatore.
Yeah, that testosterone rage.
He'll be lucky.
I don't understand his obsession with his family's legacy to be known that he's part of the founding people of the town. I don't understand his obsession.
I don't know either.
I mean, I get it. I mean, legacy is nice and family name is good. Like I understand that, and tradition is good, but like to have this teenage boy so obsessed with his family's name and like a family. Some people have like family crest or whatever. Like, why are you so obsessed with it?
Why are you so obsessed with me? He'll be lucky if he doesn't end up hanging from a tree. You're sure the evidence is there. How many times do I have to tell you? First it says she lost her ribbon on September 2nd in the cemetery. Then it says Stefan picked it up that day and kept it. Wickery Bridge is right beside the cemetery. That means Stefan was near the bridge on September 2nd, the night the old man was attacked there.
What a little shit.
Everybody already knows he has a hand in the attacks on Vicky and Tanner. What more do you want? It'll never stand up in court. Maybe I could just get some corroborating evidence, like ask old Miss Flowers what time he got home that night. Oh, who cares? Most people think he's guilty already. The diary talks about some big secret he's hiding from everyone. People will get the idea. You're keeping it in a safe place? No, Tyler. I'm keeping it on the coffee table. How stupid do you think I am? Stupid enough to send Elena notes tipping her off. There was a crackle of a newspaper. Look at this. This is unbelievable. And it's going to stop now. What if she figures out what's going on? What's she going to do about it? Call the police? I still want you to lay off just until Founders Day. Then you can watch the little ice princess melt. And to say ciao to Stefan. Tyler, nobody's really going to hurt him, are they? Who cares? Tyler's mocked his earlier tone. You leave that to me and my friends Caroline. You just do your part, okay? Caroline's voice dropped to a throaty murmur. Convince me. After a pause, Tyler chuckled.
That sounds like a challenge. Like a challenge. Like a type of challenge.
There was movement, rustling sounds, a sigh. Elena turned and slipped out of the room as quietly as she had come in. She got into the next hallway and she leaned against the lockers there trying to think. It was almost too much to absorb at once. Caroline, who had once been her best friend, had betrayed her and wanted to see her humiliated in front of the whole school. Tyler, who always seemed more like...
It's because she's jealous.
Oh, 100%.
It's all... Anytime people do this, like the revengeful, avenging, whatever, a lot of it's from jealousy.
Well, I'm also kind of wondering if a hint of that also has to do with Catherine, because I'm wondering if Catherine got into her head. Got into her head.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know that Catherine probably, like, sees Elena with her ex-man, and both the boys are after her. She probably got a little bit jealous and was like, take her down, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I see that.
And what is no better than turn someone else's friends against them?
Yeah.
Like if you really want to hurt someone.
Yeah, turn the best friend against her.
Yeah.
Yeah. That basil smells so good right now.
It really does.
Like just the wafting.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I have an herb garden on my patio.
Right,
you guys can't see it because it's like behind here, but like we have like a light breeze and the smell of basil is
I'm
just
sure
like
you can hear the breeze, but
yeah, you can probably hear. Yeah,
it smells good.
And the worst thing about it is they were using Elena's own diary to do it. Now she understands the beginning of her dream last night. She had a dream like it the day before she had discovered that Stefan was missing. And both Stefan had looked angry with her, accusing eyes, and he had thrown the book at her feet and walked away. Not a book, her diary, which had the evidence that could be deadly to Stefan. 3 times people in Falls Church had been attacked, and 3 times Stefan had been on the scene. What would it look like to the town, to the police? And there was no way.
I feel like he's one of those people who started those witch hunts back in the day. Witch! She's a witch! Everybody! Like Gaston.
Well, that's how I feel like Tyler is.
Yeah, that's how
I thought you meant Stefan. I was like, Stefan?
No, Tyler. I'm talking about Tyler.
He sounds like he's starting a witch hunt.
Like Gaston in Disney. Anyways.
We're having so many Disney references today.
We are.
And there was no way to tell the truth. Supposing, she said, Stefan isn't guilty. It's his brother Damon who hates him and who knows how much Stefan hates even the thought of hurting and killing, and who followed Stefan around and attacked people to make Stefan think that maybe Stefan had done it to drive him mad, and who's here in town somewhere to look for him in the cemetery or in the woods. Are you taking a picture of him?
He's so handsome.
Oh, I know.
He's just so handsome. Sorry, everybody. I just wanted to save that.
And who's here in the town somewhere?
That ledge just fits perfectly under his chin.
Oh, I know.
It's
anytime a little kid or a dog walks by, he's like, a little chin on there looking at him.
Yeah, and it's adorable. I just had to take a moment. Sorry.
Oop, that was me. Look for him in the cemetery or in the woods. Oh, by the way, don't search for just a good-for-nothing guy, because he might be a crow at the moment. Incidentally, he's also a vampire. She didn't even believe it herself. It sounded ludicrous. A twinge from the side of her neck reminded her of how serious the ludicrous story really was. She felt odd today, even as if she were sick. It was more than just tension or lack of sleep. She felt dizzy, and at times the ground seemed very spongy and giving underneath her feet, then springing back. Flu-like symptoms, except she was sure they weren't due to any virus in her bloodstream. Damon's fault again. Everything was Damon's fault except the diary, but she had no one to blame for that but herself. If only she hadn't written about Stefan. If only she hadn't brought the diary to school. If only she hadn't left it in Bonnie's living room. If only. Right now, that's all that mattered, and all she was gonna get. Right now, all that mattered was that she could get it back. Hi, honey. You're just so needy today. I do love you. You just keep coming over here. All right, we are on to chapter 10.
Woohoo! That was a good chapter.
Was a good chapter.
A lot happened. There's a lot of what you said last time, meat and potatoes. There's a lot this time.
It was a very long chapter.
It was a long chapter.
I think this episode's going to be like 40 minutes.
At least.
Normally they're like about 30,
25, 30.
25, 30, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Except for our first episode. First episode was like an hour, but that's because we did 2 chapters.
Yeah, in one. So.
Got to get people into it.
Mm-hmm.
Except I feel like I really got into it until like at least chapter 4, because it felt very like teen drama-y, and I was like, okay, well, I hope this book is not going to be like
continuing to be like that.
Continuing to be like that.
We don't want that.
Yeah.
I think it's different because I feel like when we were that age, we like thrived on stories like that, and now some odd years later, we're just like not. That doesn't catch our attention.
Well, and then he also might have grown as an author as he continued to write the book. It might have not been like he sat down and wrote like chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then took some years off and then continued the story.
Right.
I know, you're just so needy today, honey.
You guys probably want to see him. There he is. We'll continue our talk, but yeah. He's a good boy. Oh, as you move. Here's a tail. You see the tail?
Yeah, I don't think they want to see his butt.
No. There. Honey, bunny, you so cute. Ay. Thank you.
Anywho, lots of meat and potatoes in this chapter. We got, they literally said it in that chapter that, like, he's been invited into Bonnie's house, which means puts all Bonnie's family at risk. It puts Bonnie at risk, and Bonnie still doesn't even realize that he's a vampire.
Yeah, Bonnie has no clue. She definitely needs to tell Bonnie. She absolutely needs to clue in Bonnie on
honestly, I'm surprised it's not Meredith who got invited into the house, because we still need to kill off Meredith.
Now, what if she doesn't get killed off, though?
I mean, she might not.
But there's just also not a lot of character build for her, so I don't...
I feel like she's gonna get killed off. And maybe even at the end of this book.
I think I also said that maybe she'll move. Because too much drama is happening in town, so maybe her parents want her out of the town.
Well, from what I remember, from when I was, researching the book, because we did the wrong book first.
Yeah.
This is, the introductory book, and then book 1, starts next. So this isn't even technically book 1. This is, the introductory books. And then there's book 1, book 2, and, yeah.
We had a ways. You said there's, 8 books?
There's a lot of books.
There's a lot. I don't know if we're going to do all of them.
We'll see.
But
we still have to buy all the books, too, which, I only have this one.
And the next one.
And the next one. No, I think I have, well, I don't know. I think I might have 3.
We'll look. We'll figure it out.
We'll see what I have.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
Predictions?
So, let's see. What else? I
think we're about to see Catherine. I think we're about to see
I think we're sneaking up on Catherine here.
Yeah. She's making her presence known to other people without them realizing that it's not Elena.
Well, and then Bonnie and Meredith already said that they were going to confront Catherine after school. And
Elena?
They said that they were going to go and confront Catherine after school with Elena about the journal thing. And Elena's kind of...
You mean Caroline? Not Catherine.
Yes, Caroline. Sorry, too many C names. Yeah. But it sounds like she might even tell them to not
do it.
That.
Not come with them. Sorry, I covered that up.
That's okay. It was why you breaking my stuff?
I didn't break it.
I was joking. I'm joking. Yeah, I think she's gonna tell them not to do it and try and clue them in. But I'm wondering if they're gonna get mad because they literally told her, "Do not confront her without us."
I would be mad if let's say you went ahead and still did something after I asked you not to do it, let me come with you. I would be upset.
Yeah.
Especially when I knew if it's risky or not to do it on your own.
Honestly, I think Elena's gonna run her friends away because she's honestly keeping all these secrets from them that directly influence their safety. On top of the fact that she's asking them to keep stuff quiet that could potentially be illegal. Plus, she's doing all this stuff on her own. That's
I know that's what you're trying to scratch.
Oh, he's loving that so much. That completely goes against their trust. They literally asked her to wait.
Yeah.
And she didn't. He's like, more please.
I would be upset.
I would be upset. And she's asking for all these favors from her friends, but she's
blindly and having them just blindly follow her, basically.
But they're not. She's not giving them anything back, really. Mm-hmm. And then there was days where she disappeared and stuff.
And they were wondering where she is.
And they were wondering where she is. So it's I don't know. I feel like at this point, I would be tired of it, and I would want the full story because I
would want to sit you down, tell me right here, right now, your only chance before I walk away from this. Tell me what's going on.
Yeah, because I would be so frustrated.
Yes, I would too.
I'm
tell us how you guys would feel. What would you do in a situation like that with your friends, or if something else popped up in your life? What would you expect in return?
Yeah.
And also let us know your predictions. What do you think of different characters are going to happen to them in the future or down the road here?
Yeah.
Let's hear them. Let's have a discussion. We want to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess we'll be on to chapter 10. We will convene.
Yes.
Okay.
Thursday,
guys. We'll see you there.
Bye.